Alright guys, welcome back to Ed's Garage. Today I am installing, or trying to install, the trailer hitch that I got for the Ioniq 5 for my Ioniq 6. Now, it's not the trailer hitch that the company that sent it to me had up on their ad. It's not the 76589 draw tight. It's the 76632 or something like that. So it's the newer version of the trailer hitch for the Ioniq 5. And it's a little annoying because it means it's going to be a lot more difficult to install. Let me show you which one we got. So this is it here, 7632, and this one clamps to the side of the frame rails. And unfortunately there is no threaded holes on the Ioniq 6. So I'm currently making a steel plate that will match the inside, or the outside. This is the little bulk up piece. So the frame rails, thankfully, are exactly the same width on the Ioniq 5. Excuse the mess, sorry. The frame rails are the same width on the Ioniq 5 as they are on the Ioniq 6. So this will go on the outside of the frame rail, and then the outer bit of the hitch will kind of go up alongside of that. And then you got the frame rail metal bit here, and then this will then go on the inside, and the bolts will go through and stick out this way. So I actually had to get some carriage bolts. And the reason I'm drilling holes in this right now is because, well, I'm going to cut this out, but these holes actually need to be square for the carriage bolts, as you can see here, because these are going to go inside the frame rail. I'm going to fish them in using wire. It's not going to be easy, guys. And then basically when the square hole drops into this hole here, it'll stop this from spinning when it goes through here, through the hitch, and then the bolt goes on, or the nut rather. So that's the plan. Now, let me just say this, I do not recommend this way of doing things. If you can somehow get the 76589 hitch, that's probably the better way to go. Having said that, I don't have one to try, so I can't even try that to see if that works. This will work. It's just going to be a bit more work, and unfortunately it is going to require drilling some holes in the side of the frame rails, or well, unibody rails. Yeah, not the ideal solution, but I'll get it done. All right, so I got my 4 square holes cut out, as you can see, so those are not going to turn at all. They're pretty tight, but that's okay. That's the way it needs to be. Now I just need to cut this out, and then I need to be able to fish this inside of the frame rail, and that's going to be the fun part. Alright, I have been working on this most of the day, and I finally managed to get this side in. So, as you can see, I cut this hole larger, made a bit of a mess of it right there, but that's okay. In the side there is the steel plate, and the 3... you can't see the other one, but there's 3 of those, so they need to seat into that steel plate still. So we got a steel plate on one side and this thing on the other side, and of course the hitch will lock onto that. Now if you're wondering why it's on a bit of an angle, that's just normal actually. It's just so that, I don't know if you can tell, but I don't have the hitch here. The way that that's shaped, it just has to be in this orientation, so that's normal. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these down for now, just briefly, just to seat those, and then I'm going to call it a day, and I'll work on this again tomorrow. Alright, just to go show you guys where I'm at here so far. I've got the metal plate inside in there. I've got 3 bolts poking out, and I did this a little bit differently. You can see on the ends of these bolts, it's kind of hard to see here, sorry. I have grinded them flat, and the reason for that is because I didn't bother cutting square holes in this plate on this side. But I figure if I ever need to loosen these, I'll be able to clamp down on the ends of these with a pair of vice grips or something like that in order to loosen them. So, yeah, and I actually made the holes in that metal slat that's on the other side a little bit bigger so that the carriage bolts will kind of bite into them. So that's what I got so far. And then the next thing after I've tightened all this is I'm going to put angle brackets. Let me see if I brighten this up here. I'm going to put an angle bracket right here. And the reason being is because this metal is quite a bit thicker. So I figured if I have an angle piece right here, it should be plenty strong enough. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right. Hitch is in place. I'm just not sure how strong it is right now, but it feels pretty darn strong. So let me show you everything that needed to come off and go on here. So first of all, these pieces had to come off of right here. They are held on with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 6 Phillips head screws, as well as 1, 2 of the tabs. You need to pull away this liner a little bit, which is held on by 1 screw right there. So you can pull that back. So after you take the main large piece off, these two need to come off in order to make room to get in behind here and drill holes and whatnot. On both sides, obviously, you need to drill 3 holes. And I can't really tell you exactly where they all need to go, but this hole was actually the only one that was already there that I just made bigger. And then when I hung this up, I kind of dangled it off of this one bolt and tried to get this as level as possible. I don't know if it's perfect, but it's pretty close. It doesn't need to be perfect. But the other side, you actually have to drill all 3 holes separately. So then you of course have to put the metal bit on the inside, the actual metal sheet, or whatever you want to call it, that thing right there. That also has to be fabricated. You have to drill this out to make it large enough for that to fit. And you have to do the same thing on the other side, as you can see. So there, 1, 2, and the third one is a little further forwards. Now the way that I put those in, the easiest way of course is going to be a bolt leader wire or a Fisher wire to pull those bolts through. I just used magnets and some copper line and fingers to get those through the hole. It was very difficult. I used the 3 washers that came with, or 6 washers rather, that came with the hitch, so they're on there. As well, these bolts, the carriage bolts, are store-bought. They're grade 5 bolts. Now the next part is the L bracket that goes right here, which is going to be a whole lot of not fun, because it's going to essentially go on here, and yeah, there's a big hole right here, so I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to put its bolts, but I'm going to have to put the bolts in here down through first, put it up, and then drill holes through it, as well as this. And now we're talking drilling holes through a 1/2 inch of steel. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, let's cut some metal. Okay, update. So, as you can see, I have a nice heavy-duty 1/4 inch steel bracket holding this on. Now, in case you're wondering why the bolts are placed the way they are, well, there's nothing behind this spot right here. So I've got to get both bolts into this piece of metal here. And I could have moved this over to here, which was the original plan, but I realized that this is not level with this. It kind of rises up. Right here, it kind of goes up on an angle. It's kind of hard to explain. But this is nice and flat. So I had to keep it to this location here. You can also see I screwed up and put a hole there, which isn't going to work because I completely forgot, but this is actually in a bit, so there was no room to get a bolt in there. You can also see I've got another piece of metal on the inside here, and what I did with this one is I actually welded the nuts onto it. So these just thread in, and these ones are just held on with nuts there. So that's not going anywhere. But the downside is it's now 9:30 and I still need to do the other side. Blech. All right, just so you can see what I'm doing here. And guys, excuse the mess. I always do everything on my project first, get it all done, and then I clean up. It's just a bad habit. But anyway, so what you can see here is I got the plate that goes inside the frame rail ready to go, and I'm going to go ahead and weld these nuts onto that plate. I've gone ahead and put the bolts in there so that I can clean the threads out basically just by removing the bolts. So we'll go ahead and just weld these on. You can see this one was slotted already, so I just had to widen the hole for it to fit. I bought these at Canadian Tire, and they just happen to be the plates anyway, just the right type. They're 1/4 inch thick, so it works great. And they fit through the hole, which is the most important part. So, but this plate is painted or powder coated or something, so it is going to be very, very messy when it's done. But yeah, let's go ahead and weld it up. All right, as you can see, you got the 2 nuts welded on there. Yes, my welding's not going to be winning any awards, but you know what? It's on there. It's secure. The threads are nice and clean. Those bolts aren't going anywhere now. Yeah, going to go ahead and, well, first I need to cool this off. So I'm going to cool it off, and then I'm going to pop it in and see how it goes. All right, so I got this kind of loosely placed here. Now, I'm going to take this piece, stuff it up through here. Ooh. Oh, no. Come on. That's going to take some effort. All right. A little bit of finagling got that. Yeah, I'm just going to line it up. So I just remembered I was going to put the bracket here for the underbody cover. I was just going to drill a hole through it and then put this bolt through that. So I'm going to have to pull this bolt out again. Ah! Well, folks, this next bit is going to suck. Because that is a lot of metal to drill through. And not a lot of room to work. Especially with the drill going backwards. That's a problem. I have my arm stretched out like this. I got my butt pushing on the beam that my car is sitting on. I don't know if you can see that. And I got my leg pushing against this box to try to get enough force to drill these damn holes. I'm going to stop rolling here and I'll start up again once I've got these holes drilled. Sorry about the light. That's all she wrote. It overheated and died. Still works briefly, but it's really hot right now, so I put way too much stress on this poor thing though. But I managed to finish the holes with the other drill, even though it was on a bit of an angle. So should be all right. And I think once that cools off, it'll probably be okay. Oh, fantastic. You know what? I should put those washers on the other side, actually. Lock washers. One and two. Okay. Hopefully you can see there. From there. Okay, it's all put together. I had to cut this down a little bit as well. As you can see on this side, you also notice there's a shiny, disgusting, coppery, shiny, sparkly paint all over everything. I figured I'd give it a quick coat of primer slash paint to somewhat probably not protect it from rusting in the future. Don't really care too much about it though, because it's all going to get covered up by the bottom cover here anyway. All right, just doing a test fit of the bottom cover here. As you can see, I'm going to have to cut out a bunch. Now, I'm going to leave this exposed. So obviously, I'm not going to cut that out of the plastic. I'm going to leave it exposed. You know what I mean? So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to use felt to trace it out. And we'll cut it out. All right, so as you can see, I've cut it out, basically following the contours of these little flat spots here. And now we're gonna shove it in and see what it looks like. All right, and as you can see, ignore the wiring. I'm doing this video after I did the wiring. So, but as you can see, or this video clip, the cutout actually worked really, really nicely. It's quite subtle. And really, there's not much sticking out on the bottom here, and it actually kind of lines up really nicely for airflow and whatnot. So that cut works out really, really well for that. And it even lined up great on the back here as well. All right, the wiring video is going to be a separate video. I'm not going to do that on this one, so stay tuned for the next video that goes up talking about how I'm wiring up the trailer harness, the wiring harness for the trailer. I'm not buying a kit for it. I'm doing it manually using a four-port relay system. So I'll show you guys how that's all put together as well. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.